My name's Dylan Kissane. I come up from Lyon today and Cosmotech. I do the inbound marketing at Cosmotech. So for sure I'm going to try and sell you something a little bit later. Luckily it's really expensive, so my boss will be happy if you buy. I did something very similar to Catlin when he got started there, which is just looking for some recent examples. And I talked to other people at Cosmotech when I told them I was here. And I said, when we talk about ethics in AI, what comes to mind? And this is what we came up with. So the first example I got given was, hey, you remember that time that Google tried to put some photos together and say, we could say these ones are at the beach and these ones are our professors and these people are happy and these people are gorillas, but they're not gorillas. They were just African American people, and the AI and the recognition software pushed them into that box. And that became a big deal, and Google's response was exactly what you'd expect was, we didn't mean for that to happen. That's not how we train the AI. You know, we're going to keep working on this. We'll do better. The second example was from a content writer on my team who's from the US. And she said, hey, did you ever hear about the thing in Florida? And ProPublica had done an investigation in Florida into something called Compass. And Compass is a recidivism projection. So essentially when someone commits a crime, they go to jail, prison, they fill out a form and they tell the computer software about their history, what they've done before, what they got arrested for, what they got jailed for, who their friends are, what sort of areas they live in. And then the computer will make a prediction about whether they're likely to be in trouble again. And the predictions were not really good. About 60% of the time it got it right, but there were actually two parts. First part was, will they do it again? 60% of the time they got it right. The other part was, will they do it again and be violent? Because we want to watch those people. And that got it wrong most of the time. But it got it wrong in a funny way, which was 40% of the time it said black people and Hispanic people will do something violent, but they only did that 20% of the time for the white people. And that didn't match at all the real experience. And again, the excuse was, well, we didn't train it, it's just how it works, and we didn't mean it. It just happened. Something similar that came up was about the fatality when Uber was testing their autonomous vehicles and they hit someone. And it was a problem with the AI, or it was a problem with the LiDAR, it was a problem with the way that the car was set up, or someone wasn't paying attention. It was nobody's fault. But it was a precursor, because these things are going to happen more often. When we put technology and try and give it the capacity to make decisions for us, we're going to have to expect that these things are going to happen. And of course, like you mentioned, China and their social credit system is sort of next step. I'm Australian, so I trust government like 90% less than the average French person. And so this scares me more than anything else. But all of these ideas kept coming back to that same thing, which was nobody planned for these things to happen. No one planned for the bad stuff. And so I came back to this quote by William McDonough, who said, you know, you can't say it's not part of your plan that these things happen because it's part of your de facto plan. These things are happening because you don't have a plan. Right? Google didn't go out of the way to insult people or be racist. The same with the AI that was used in the prisons. Didn't go out of its way to be a problem. But because no one had a plan, because it was inside that black box, this is what happens. So bad things happen when you pull the human out. And that's really what I wanted to talk about tonight. Ethical problems happen when we withdraw humans from the technology. When we just say, it's a technology, that's how it works, it makes decisions, and you're stuck with it. And let me tell you a little bit about what we do at Cosmotech, because one of the things we do just religiously there is involve the human in what we do. So we make modeling and simulation solutions. We build on our own platform, and our solutions help people to make optimal decisions. Our software, of course, uses some AI. It uses some machine learning as well, along with a whole other software tool that we've built. But it also integrates and encapsulates human knowledge and human expertise. And it does that really deliberately. So we have, of course, the expertise at our end, which is in complexity science and complex systems. We have PhDs from all different fields, biology, aeronautics, you name it. As long as it's a complex system, that vocabulary is the same, and they can push that expertise into the model. But then we also integrate the human intelligence and expertise of people who work in the industries and work for the companies that we work with. So when we build a model of a rail network, we don't just build it like a complex system. We go to SNCF and we ask the people there, how does it actually work? Because we've got this model and that model, and the asset manager on the ground will tell us, no, really it's like this. And we say, well, doesn't it get old and fall apart after 2 years? He says, yeah, but in Paris. If you're in Brittany, it falls apart after 18 months because the air is full of salt and the wind and the rain is terrible. And if you're in Nice, no problem, 2.5 years. So we put that sort of expertise into the system. But we do that not just for asset management, but for human resources and finance and hiring. Anything that involves a human, we integrate that into our models. Because if we do that, we get two things. First, we get a model that matches reality. It's not just a model of how an environmental system should be or how a rail network should be, but it's how a rail network actually is. And the second thing we get is this ability to include ethical rules and ethical regulations and real human policies inside of our software solutions. And that's why we talk about making optimal decisions instead of just right decisions. Because when we make optimal decisions, it's all about constraints. It's the things that are putting pressure on the decision maker. So there's logistical problems, of course, there's economic constraints as well, regulatory constraints, but there's also ethical constraints. And you have to build that into our models as well. When we build our solutions, those ethical constraints are all part of the modeling too. So that the person in the end who uses our technology to make a decision has integrated that human into the thought pattern as well. I guess the main thought for me then is that you can't really get ethical technology if you remove the human from the equation. So we believe at Cosmotech that there's real value in keeping the human there. We talk about augmented intelligence a lot more than we talk about artificial intelligence. We're not trying to replace the person making the decision. That's really important for us. We're always augmenting them. And it's a lot less scary for the companies we talk to too. We're not taking anybody's job. We're just helping them make better decisions. We're not the only ones either. The clients that we work with, whether they're here in France or elsewhere in Europe or around the world, these companies are happy that we're not taking them out of the picture. We're not taking their people out of the picture. We're really keeping them in. We also believe that our technology serves humans a lot better if when you develop it with the human along the way. The human for us is not just the end user. It's not just the person who sits behind the screen. We encapsulate their knowledge, their intelligence, their experience into the models that we build and into the software. And because that human's involved all the way through, they're much more comfortable with the technology and we think we get better outcomes. Which is not to say that we always solve every ethical challenge. We can't. And we don't expect to. There'll always be ethical challenges that come from the use of technology. But we think that those challenges will be greater and our ability to and our capacity to respond to them will be reduced if we pull the human out and just go back to those first examples and say, yeah, that's how the technology works. That's the AI made that choice. We're going to do better next time. We've got to bake that humanity in.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Right.